Overnight, this storm made a decision. It didn't explode on satellite. It didn't suddenly double in size. It didn't trigger dramatic headlines at first glance. It shifted, and that shift changed everything. The track is now confirmed, and this monster winter storm is moving faster than expected. That means impacts arrive sooner. Snow bands reposition, ice corridors adjust, preparation windows shrink. If you thought you had more time, you may not. Winter storms don't need dramatic strengthening to become dangerous. Sometimes all it takes is a subtle nudge in the atmosphere, a small correction in trajectory, to turn a manageable event into a high-impact one. Tonight, that correction happened. And what we're seeing now is a system reorganizing, accelerating, and targeting a new corridor with heavier snowfall rates and tighter timing. This isn't speculation. This is atmospheric physics unfolding in real time. Let's break down exactly what changed, who's now in the crosshairs, and why the next several hours matter more than you might think. 1. Small track shifts create big consequences. In winter weather, distance is everything. When you hear that a storm has shifted slightly, it may sound minor. 50 miles, maybe 100. On a national map, that looks insignificant. But in winter storm dynamics, that kind of movement is the difference between inconvenience and disruption. Because winter storms are built on gradients. Tight temperature gradients, moisture gradients, pressure gradients. And those gradients do not tolerate small changes, they amplify them. Right now, we are dealing with a system embedded in deeply established cold air. That matters. And when the cold air is already locked in place at the surface, the storm doesn't need to intensify dramatically to produce major impacts. It just needs to align correctly. And alignment is what changed. When the low-pressure center shifts, even modestly, it repositions the deformation band. The zone where lift is strongest and snowfall rates peak. That band is where snowfall transitions from steady to heavy. It is where rates exceed 1 inch per hour. It is where plows struggle to keep up. Areas that were previously on the outer edge of that band may now be directly beneath it. That is not a cosmetic adjustment. That is a structural change. It also repositions the rain-snow line. A small track shift alters where warm air intrudes aloft. In winter systems, the battle between warm air above and cold air at the surface determines precipitation type. 1 or 2 degrees makes the difference between cold rain, sleet, freezing rain, or heavy snow. When the storm shifts, that battle line moves. Communities that were forecast for manageable accumulation may now find themselves under prolonged heavy snowfall. Areas expecting wet snow could now experience lighter, fluffier snow with higher ratios, meaning totals increase faster than anticipated. This is why meteorologists watch track trends so closely. Not because the center moved, but because everything moves with it. Snowfall projections are not just about how strong a storm becomes. They are about where lift maximizes relative to cold air depth. That intersection is precise. Shift it slightly, and the impact zone shifts dramatically. Think of it this way. Winter storms operate on razor-thin margins. A modest lateral adjustment reorganizes the entire impact footprint. And tonight, that footprint expanded into areas that were not previously in the highest tier of concern. This does not mean panic. It means recalibration. When you hear track just shifted, understand what that truly implies. It means atmospheric forces have redistributed energy. It means snowfall rates may intensify where they weren't expected to. It means preparation timelines may compress. It means that what looked manageable yesterday may look very different today. That is the nature of winter systems. They rarely announce dramatic transformation. They evolve quietly, subtly, and then suddenly the impacts reflect that subtle shift. And right now, that subtle shift matters. Two, the storm is moving faster than modeled. Intensity gets attention, but timing determines impact. And right now, timing is the bigger story. Earlier projections showed a steady progression, a system arriving overnight, spreading gradually, allowing preparation windows to hold. That timeline has changed. The storm is accelerating. Storm speed is not random. It is controlled by upper-level steering currents, powerful winds high in the atmosphere that guide surface systems. When those winds strengthen or align differently than expected, the entire storm responds. That is what we are seeing. A faster-moving system compresses the impact window. Snow that was forecast to begin after midnight may now begin during evening travel. Ice that was expected before dawn could now develop late tonight. Road conditions deteriorate sooner. Visibility drops earlier. Preparation time shrinks. Acceleration changes the rhythm of a storm. When a system speeds up, the atmosphere often compensates by tightening pressure gradients. That can enhance lift, organize precipitation bands more efficiently, and concentrate impacts into a shorter period of time. Instead of a long-duration, gradual event, you can get a faster, more intense burst. And fast bursts are disruptive. Municipal crews rely on lead time. Transportation departments rely on timing. Emergency managers rely on projected arrival windows. When the schedule shifts forward, decisions must shift forward. Businesses that thought they had hours may now have less. Schools that anticipated overnight accumulation may need to reconsider sooner. The public perception of a storm often hinges on when it begins, on not just how much it produces. Early arrival increases exposure. It increases the chance that impacts coincide with active hours, commute periods, business operations, evening travel. A storm arriving at 3 a.m. behaves differently than one arriving at 6 p.m. And this one is moving closer to the earlier scenario. There is another factor at play with accelerated systems. Snowfall rates can increase if moisture and lift remain strong, while forward motion quickens. The atmosphere does not always weaken a storm simply because it moves faster. Sometimes it organizes it. This is why updated model runs matter, not because forecasts were wrong, but because atmospheric patterns are dynamic. When upper-level energy interacts more efficiently with surface development, speed adjustments occur. And once speed changes, impact sequencing changes. In snow onset, peak intensity, wind increase, visibility reduction, transition lines, all of it shifts forward. The takeaway is simple but critical. This is no longer a slow-evolving winter event. It is a system that is gaining forward momentum. That means less waiting, less buffering, less margin. And when winter weather reduces margins, preparation becomes more urgent. Because in winter storms, it is not just how much falls, it is how quickly it arrives. 3. The heaviest snow corridor has repositioned. In every major winter storm, there is a spine, a narrow corridor where lift is strongest, where moisture is deepest, where snowfall rates become overwhelming. That corridor has moved. With the updated track now confirmed, the axis of maximum snowfall is no longer where it was projected 12 to 24 hours ago. And that shift changes who experiences the core of this system. Heavy snow does not fall evenly across a region. It organizes into bands, sometimes narrow, sometimes expansive, but always precise. These bands form where atmospheric lift and cold air align perfectly. That alignment is delicate. When the low pressure center nudges in one direction, the deformation zone, the region where air converges and rises most efficiently, shifts with it. That is happening now. Areas that were previously forecast to sit on the outer edge of steady snow may now find themselves under sustained heavy banding. And sustained banding means higher rates. 1 inch per hour becomes possible, then 1.5, then 2 inches per hour in the most intense cores. At those rates, roads deteriorate rapidly, plows fall behind, visibility drops sharply. Travel becomes difficult within minutes, not hours. The difference between 4 inches and 14 inches is not always storm strength. Often, it is simply location relative to that heavy snow axis, and that axis has repositioned. There is also a thermodynamic component to consider. With colder air firmly in place, snow ratios can increase. That means the same amount of moisture produces higher snowfall totals. If the storm track shifts deeper into colder air, accumulations can escalate faster than expected. The result is a corridor that may see totals upgraded, not because the storm suddenly intensified dramatically, but because the zone of maximum lift is now overlapping better with deep cold air. This is the part of winter forecasting that demands constant monitoring. The heavy snow corridor is not fixed. It evolves as upper-level energy pivots and surface pressure deepens. Right now, model consensus is tightening around this new placement. That does not mean every town within that zone will see identical totals. Banding is notoriously uneven. Some communities may experience intense snowfall for several hours, while neighboring areas see lighter rates. But the broader message is clear. The bullseye moved. If you are within this repositioned corridor, expectations must adjust accordingly. What looked moderate yesterday may trend towards significant today. In winter weather, being inside the heavy band matters more than being near it. And tonight, more communities are inside it. 4. The ice threat has also shifted. Snow gets attention. Ice causes damage. And with this updated track, the ice corridor has moved as well. Winter storms are layered systems. At the surface, temperatures may be well below freezing, but several thousand feet above the ground, a thin layer of warmer air can intrude. When that happens, snowflakes melt into raindrops on the way down, only to refreeze on contact with cold surfaces below. That is freezing rain, and it does not take much. A glaze of just 1/10 of an inch can make roads treacherous. A 1/4 inch begins to weigh down tree branches and power lines. Beyond that, outages become increasingly likely. When the storm track shifts, the placement of that warm layer shifts with it. The freezing rain zone is not wide. It is often narrow and sharply defined. A matter of miles separates heavy snow from damaging ice. That boundary is extremely sensitive to track adjustments. With the new position of the low-pressure center, as the warm air aloft is now penetrating slightly farther north and east than earlier projections suggested. At the same time, surface temperatures remain locked in cold air. That overlap creates risk. Communities that were forecast to remain primarily snow may now experience a period of freezing rain. Even if it only lasts a few hours, the impact can be significant. Ice accumulates invisibly at first. Roads look wet, until they are not. Sidewalks appear passable, until they are not. Trees stand firm, until the weight becomes too much. Unlike snow, ice does not cushion impact. It compounds it. Snow can be plowed. Ice must be treated chemically or weighted out. And during active freezing rain, treatment is often overwhelmed. Another concern with shifting ice zones is complacency. And areas originally outside the primary ice threat may not have prepared for it. Crews may be staged differently. Public messaging may not have emphasized icing potential. Now, that needs to be recalibrated. Ice also interacts differently with wind. If wind increases behind the system, while ice is still present on trees and lines, mechanical stress rises. That is when scattered outages can expand into broader disruptions. This is why the southern and southeastern flank of winter storms must be monitored as closely as the snow core. Snow disrupts travel. Ice disrupts infrastructure. And when track adjustments reposition the freezing rain corridor, the consequences can escalate quickly. The key takeaway is simple. If you are near the rain-snow line, you are near the ice line. And that line just moved. That 5. Wind will amplify the impact. Snow depth tells part of the story. Wind tells the rest. As this system accelerates and reorganizes along its updated track, pressure differences across the region are tightening. When pressure gradients strengthen, wind speeds increase. And when wind increases during an active winter storm, impacts multiply. Even moderate snowfall can become hazardous when wind enters the equation. Blowing snow reduces visibility quickly. It doesn't take extreme gusts to create whiteout conditions, especially when snowfall rates are already elevated. Fine, powdery snow lifts easily. It drifts across open roads, refills cleared lanes, and obscures visibility in seconds. This creates a dangerous illusion. Drivers may begin a trip under manageable conditions, only to encounter sudden visibility drops a few miles down the road. What looked like steady snow can turn into near zero visibility when wind aligns with falling precipitation. And the stronger the storm's pressure gradient becomes, the more persistent that wind can be. There is also the issue of drifting. Wind does not distribute snow evenly. It relocates it. Rural highways, open fields, elevated roadways. These areas are especially vulnerable to drifting snow. Even if total accumulation remains moderate, drifts can exceed reported snowfall totals significantly. That means stranded vehicles, delayed emergency response, extended road closures. Wind also stresses infrastructure. If ice is present in portions of the region, gusty conditions increase strain on already weighted tree limbs and power lines. Even without heavy ice accumulation, repeated gusts over 30 to 40 miles per hour during snowfall can create scattered issues. But perhaps most importantly, wind changes perception. A snowfall of 6 inches in calm conditions is disruptive but manageable in many regions accustomed to winter weather. The same 6 inches with sustained wind becomes far more challenging. Snowplows must contend with reaccumulation. Airports must address visibility restrictions. Travel advisories escalate. Wind transforms steady snowfall into a more dynamic and unpredictable environment. And with this system moving faster and reorganizing, the potential for stronger backside winds increases as the low deepens and departs. Often the worst travel conditions occur not at the very beginning of a storm, but during its mature phase when snowfall and wind overlap at peak intensity. That overlap window is what we are watching closely, because in winter storms, totals matter, but wind determines how those totals are experienced. 6. Timing is now the bigger story. When most people think about winter storms, they think about totals. How many inches? How much ice? How strong will the wind be? But professionals, emergency managers, transportation departments, utility crews focus on something else first. Timing. And timing just changed. The acceleration of this system has compressed the preparation window. What was once a gradual ramp-up now looks more like a sharper onset. That shift may not change the overall snowfall totals dramatically, but it changes how those totals are experienced. Snow beginning at 2 a.m. behaves very differently than snow beginning at 5 p.m. A storm peaking overnight allows roads to be treated before peak traffic. A storm peaking during the morning commute creates gridlock. A faster timeline increases the chance that the most intense conditions align with active hours. When people are traveling, businesses are open, and infrastructure is under full demand. That overlap magnifies impact. There is also a psychological component to timing. When people believe they have more time, preparation slows. When a system speeds up, decisions must be made sooner. Closures, schedule changes, travel adjustments. Those decisions are rarely instantaneous. A compressed timeline forces quicker response. From a meteorological standpoint, faster-moving storms can also concentrate impacts into a shorter duration. Instead of 12 hours of moderate snowfall, you may see 6 hours of heavier snowfall. Instead of gradual deterioration, you get rapid degradation of road conditions. That kind of transition catches communities off guard. Timing also affects recovery. If snowfall ends earlier than expected, clearing operations can begin sooner. But if the heaviest snow arrives earlier, the strain on crews begins earlier as well. Fatigue builds faster. Resources are stretched sooner. Weather does not operate in isolation. It interacts with human systems. Transportation, power grids, emergency response networks. Those systems depend on predictable sequencing. When sequencing shifts, everything downstream adjusts. The updated track did not just move the storm geographically, it moved it chronologically. And that may be the most important development of all. Because in winter weather, the margin between manageable and disruptive often comes down to hours. And right now, those hours are shrinking. 7. This storm is still evolving. One of the most important realities about winter storms is this. They are not static systems. They do not lock into place and follow a perfectly straight line. They evolve hour by hour, responding to atmospheric forces that are constantly in motion. And this storm is still evolving. The confirmed track shift and acceleration tell us something critical. The upper-level energy driving this system is interacting more efficiently with the surface low. When that happens, storms can reorganize. They can deepen slightly. They can expand precipitation shields. They can intensify banding. Even small structural changes can alter local outcomes. As the system matures, we will be watching several key signals. Whether secondary load development occurs along the boundary, whether snowfall banding becomes more concentrated, whether cold air reinforces behind the system, whether wraparound moisture expands totals on the backside. Winter storms often produce their most intense snowfall during pivot phases, when the storm slows temporarily or when deformation bands stall over a region. If that occurs, localized totals can climb quickly. Another factor is cold air reinforcement. If additional cold air drains in behind the system faster than anticipated, it can change snow ratios. That means lighter, fluffier snow, accumulating more efficiently, increasing totals without additional moisture. At the same time, if dry air intrudes unexpectedly, it can limit accumulation in some zones. That is why continued monitoring matters. Forecasting is not about issuing one number and walking away. It is about adapting as the atmosphere reveals its next move. Right now, confidence is high that impacts will occur. But the exact placement of the highest totals and the sharpest impacts may continue to fine-tune as radar trends and real-time observations come in. This is the stage of a winter storm where vigilance matters most. Because evolution can go both directions. It can intensify, it can wobble, it can reorganize, and every adjustment has consequences. The key message is not alarm, it is awareness. This system has already shown that it is capable of shifting its track and accelerating its timeline. That alone tells us it remains dynamic, and dynamic systems demand attention. As we move through the next several hours, conditions on the ground will reflect those atmospheric adjustments. So stay alert, stay prepared, and understand that until this storm fully exits the region, it remains a living, changing system. And we will continue tracking every change. As we wrap up, here's the bottom line. The track has shifted, the timeline has accelerated, and the impact zone has changed. This is no longer the same storm we were looking at yesterday. If you are within the updated snow or ice corridor, conditions may deteriorate sooner than originally forecast. Travel windows may close faster. Road conditions may worsen quickly. Preparation time is tighter. But this is not about panic, it's about awareness. Winter storms are dynamic systems. They adjust, they evolve. And when they do, we adjust with them. That's exactly what we're doing now. Analyzing the latest data, monitoring radar trends, and tracking how this system behaves hour by hour. We will continue to provide updates as new information comes in. If you found this breakdown helpful, stay with us. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss critical updates as this storm unfolds. Stay weather aware, stay prepared, and we'll keep tracking every shift, every band, and every impact right here.